there, David?
Yes,
You there?
yes.
Okay, Dana, would you please call the roll? Call the meeting to order.
On that note, maybe we won't.
Mark Nonick,
Okay.
Yes, here.
Terry Cohey, Carl England,
I'm here.
Diane Fladmo,
Here.
Jack Prothero,
Here.
John Satry is
Here.
here, Maggie Peterson here, and Jeff Greenfield.
Here. Great. So, we have everybody. I give it, according to the agenda, it's time to give a notice of video recording and audio for those on the phone, video for those in Helena is being recorded. Then next on our agenda is opportunity for public comment from members of the public on issues within board jurisdiction, not on the agenda. Do I hear any? Seeing none, or hearing none. Executive Director recruitment process. Who's going to spearhead this? David?
Mr. Chairman, before we continue, I think in fairness to people on the phone, I will let you know that in the room, it is a public meeting. John Satry, Dana Chapman, Maggie, Joe Cohen, Doug Hill, Deputy Jerry Burton, and Mary, our ITSD, Mary Noack, our ITSD head is here. So that's who we are. Deputy Jared Burton has sent you some reference materials. It's a combination of a possible Schedule A that would target being able to do oral interviews at the May board meeting, 23rd. There's a target schedule for lengthening that process for oral interviews in June 19th. I was asking Jerry today, how did that June 19th comport with the last time you did this? And Jerry tells me that it's actually about a week longer on June 19th, considering the 4th of July week might be a dead week. So even on a June 19th, you would have at least as many days as you had previously. So I want to get that on the table. So to round this out, you have an executive director job description. I haven't looked at it myself in a long time. I was looking at it before this, and it needs a few tweaks, but not many. There are a few things, like we have the cap pool in there, and at the time the executive director, there's a section on rebalancing trust fund monies. I delegated that as soon as I became director, so look, we can clean that up. So again, you've got some schedules, you've got a draft job description report. So, Mr. Chairman, I don't think this is very linear. I think in general you have a couple of decisions you should make. I think you ought to chew on a schedule, and simultaneously on that, I think you want to chew on your approach. And when I say your approach, whether you, the board, or your delegated body versus an executive search firm, I think that's something you should chew on sooner rather than later. Each avenue has its own ups and downs as far as content and outcome and timing. And then, well, there may be others, but I think at least schedule and approach, granularity of the approach as far as delegation, and then whatever else you want to chew on. So back to you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you. Remind me, was Terry here, or she just?
She is not here, Mr. Chairman. She may be on the phone, but she's not currently on the phone.
Terry, are you on the phone? Okay. She gave her comments, in case that she didn't make it, by email. I assume everybody saw that.
I think they just went to you and me and David and Jared.
Oh. Well, Carl, you want to report on that? I'm looking at.
Well, Terry indicated a preference for the second schedule, the longer schedule, and that we do this in-house as opposed to, a headhunter type of firm. Was there anything else? Am I forgetting, David?
No, I found the email. I think that's it. she just said, I definitely feel the second longer timeline is better. I also think it is a good idea for the HR committee to review the applications rather than using a headhunter to vet applicants. So, those are somewhat related issues, but I think we should probably just pick up the timeline, and then that will also involve, I think, whether or not we get a headhunter, because I guess my question is either of these timelines going to work if we do get an outside party? David?
Mr. Chairman, John Satcher has something he wants to say to the board.
Oh, no,
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, I was just wondering if it might be helpful before we start into this, if we had Jerry kind of give us a brief recap of how we did this last time, when we hired David, in terms of, for the board members who weren't here at that time, who did what, and how the HR committee interacted, and would that be okay, Mark?
Sure, I think we did some of that at the HR committee, but I think that's worth revisiting if Jerry would like to do that.
Sure, I'd be happy to, Mr. Chair. Briefly, last time there was discussion whether to use a search firm or do it internally or with the board, and it was decided that the board would do it. And at one of the meetings, at one of the beginning meetings, the board did make a motion to have the hiring committee be the HR committee and the board chairman. So again, last time the hiring committee for the executive director was under the direction of the HR committee, and then the board chair was also on that committee. And as David mentioned at the beginning, the second timetable that you received, which is phone interviews June 18th, that's based on the timetable from the process before. And again, it's 1 week more because there is the July 4th weekend or week that we wouldn't use. And so, I mean, you kind of can see through the timetable, all the steps that were taken. There were phone interviews, then there were the in-person interviews, and when it was brought down to the finalists, we did invite, after the in-person interviews, if there was a significant other involved, that significant other was invited back with the finalist so that they had time to, tour the city and what have you. In addition, all finalists, the HR committee wanted input from our staff members. And actually, throughout the process, the committee wanted input from staff. So as far as like what they would like to see is for qualifications, and the next executive director staff gave their input. And then when the finalists were here, the staff was all invited, I think like at the end of the interview, to come in, and they were able to ask questions of each of those finalists and then give the hiring committee their input afterwards.
So, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say, I would stop there and see if there were any questions of me.
Do I?
Well,
I have two things to add to that, if I could, Jerry.
Sure.
The first is that the HR committee was, tasked with the ones that had to do this, and then bring their decision to the board. Obviously, the board is the final authority, and we brought a candidate to the board. I suppose we could have brought 2 or 3 if that's what we wanted to do, and let the board decide. But that was as far as the HR committee went. It was kind of a screening committee, recommendation committee. And then second thing is that we, of course, set it up so that any board member that wanted to attend any and all parts of any of that was absolutely positively welcome to do so. And I suppose we had to take some formal votes where only the committee voted, but it was the people that were everybody who wanted to be involved was involved as much as they wanted to be, if I remember it right.
Okay. My question is, and maybe I'm jumping ahead. John, did you have questions about that, about Jerry?
No, thank you.
I was looking at these two timetables and, I think you said that June 18 was the one that was, the phone interviews was the one that was based off what we did last time, Jerry. Did I understand that correctly?
That is correct.
So where do they depart? I mean, the dates are, what's the thinking behind the two? What's the critical difference in, the schedule? I'm looking at the dates and pretty soon they just seem to get longer, but I'm not sure what are the critical points that you made a departure from one to the other.
So the first, what we tried to do with the one that's phone interviews May 23rd, that we put that together to coincide with your May board meeting. May 23rd is the second day of the board meeting, and so we were trying to shoot for interviews when all of the board would be present, and you could just continue on with these phone interviews after your full board meeting.
Okay, that makes sense.
And I actually went, so the first one, the May 23rd phone interviews, that process is actually 83 days. The second one with the phone interviews, June 28th, is 93 days. So they're really very similar, but again, that second one contemplates like a dead week for the July 4th week.
Just from a point of logistics, having done the phone interviews the last time, after the 2-day board meeting, doing a bunch of phone interviews might not be high quality time for conducting them.
No, that ain't gonna work, from my opinion. I just don't think that, I appreciate very much the idea that we save trips to Helena, believe me. But I just, if I remember, Jack, you may remember this better than I do, but I think we did 10 or 12
We did.
phone interviews.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they're intensive. I mean, time-wise and just pay attention, it's pretty intensive. So I agree that doing it all right after the board is too much.
Were they similar to what we did with the CIO interviews? Because I was involved in those.
Yeah,
Yeah,
very
they were,
similar.
Mark. They were. It was, they're a little bit easier than that because it's, instead of getting way technical on some of the, investment stuff, it's just a little bit more comfortable because you're talking about management and things like that at least I was more comfortable talking about. But then again, that also lengthens them out.
And weren't they about half an hour each?
Well,
They were at least a half an hour.
Yeah.
It depended on the person.
Yeah.
so probably the critical, I don't want to say, I was going to say the one who probably has to travel for others to be there, be me. Am I right about that? I can't have to think about it. But, and I'm not going to I don't want to squeeze the process just because it's an inconvenience, Carl, as you said, to give Helen, and I'm inclined not to want to. I think we did a couple of interviews with the CIO after a board meeting, but seems to me we did them otherwise as well. Do you remember, Jerry?
I don't remember.
I don't remember that either, Mark. And Mark, I mean, we can plug you in over the phone too.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was thinking that might be the way to go.
Yeah, it kind of depends on the applicants too. You do them over the phone because you're counting on getting applicants from out of state. You're not going to pay them to come. But I guess in theory, we could have 10 people from Helena and we wouldn't have to do them over the phone.
Except I could be involved, I could be a president.
And then you could be on the phone, right? So I guess it's just, it's that initial screening part. It's the, and then of course when we need to get the group of however many apply down to the number of people who we're going to interview, that we can do with you on the phone.
Yeah, that works.
That's a discussion.
So I guess we have, go ahead, sorry, Carl.
And so the question is that, I mean, is it still the HR committee? Is it the HR committee plus the chair? Is it the HR committee plus anybody else that wants to join? And we'll call that a hiring or a screening committee? I mean, you know, what's the pleasure?
So I would, I think the way, unless there's somebody who has a strong opinion, otherwise, I just entertain a motion to do it the way we did it last time. And which is what you explained, the HR committee and the board chairman with only a recommendation to the board on the final decision, and of course, the invitation to all board members to be present at any part of the process. I think that makes sense to me anyway. Anybody feel differently about that?
Well, there's a
Well,
nuance.
this is Jack, and I like the openness of that. I think it's important that any board member wants to be involved, can be involved, and I think we've got a good process. You know, I've been through it 3 times for the 3 different positions. It's basically the same process, and all 3 times I was happy with how it went and how the result we achieved.
Great.
So this is David.
So you want to make that motion, Jack?
If I, Mr. Chairman,
I'm sorry.
could I
And
be,
somebody,
this is David, I'd like to be recognized, Mr. Chairman, if I could be.
Yeah, I don't recognize you because I can't see you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So I'd like to point out that the logistical process for the executive director and the CIO were not identical. And so so the motion implies, I think, that it's the executive director process, which is totally your prerogative. The CIO process involved senior staff initial vetting. And I just want to remind you that, so the process with the CIO was actually quite a bit different than for the executive director. I just want to point that out as far as...
well, but David, I think you're getting a little bit ahead of us here.
Okay.
That's a fair point because
It is a fair point, and it was one I was going to raise, but I think it's a little ahead of where we are at this point.
Okay.
so,
Carl?
Yeah.
Or Mark?
But
well, go ahead. I was, like I said, I was gonna just,
Mark,
anybody want to make that motion that
Mark, this is Joe. Could I make a comment or ask a question from
I
just...
recognize you, Joe.
Thanks. But from just listening, you know, it was unclear to me when you said that any board member could participate in anything they wanted, but it was the HR committee. I don't know, I assume at some stage there would be, you know, after you do phone interviews, kind of a vote. It was at least unclear to me, having not participated in any of these, whether if, say, a person that wasn't on the HR committee attended the phone interviews, is that person part of that hiring committee and therefore their vote would be counted, or are they just sitting in on it and only the HR committee people are voting who kind of moves to the next stage? So I don't know if that makes
My
sense.
understanding, I understand the question. My understanding is the latter. I think that the way Carl explained it is the committee and the board chairman are the voting members to the extent there needs to be a vote, but that every member of the board is invited to participate by being present in comments and questions and so forth. Is that the way you understood it, Carl?
yeah, that's the way we did it before, and if I remember it right, I think was it Terry who was not on the committee but attended a lot of the...
I think that was a CIO search, but yeah.
Well, okay, but even in that situation, it was
Yeah.
Terry was not on the committee. She attended, you know, she attended essentially everything.
She did.
And anyone who thinks that she got ignored in that process because she didn't have a vote A, doesn't understand Terry, but also, you know, that just is the way we worked.
So I guess that's
Well, when
it.
we vote,
Sorry,
go ahead,
this is Maggie.
go ahead, Jerry.
I think it's just important that those of us who aren't on the committee have an opportunity to be present if we want to, if we're retired.
Oh, there's no question about that, Maggie.
And to be able to provide input. I don't care if we vote or not.
It's not, it's, everybody's around the table, Maggie, it's not an issue at all.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, I think, you know, and frankly, the only organizational, benefit of saying it's the committee as opposed to it's the board as a whole is that way if people don't want to participate, they don't have to. But otherwise, as far as I'm concerned, if you're there, you're part of the crew.
All right.
But
And I think that's the way we've always run it. John, do you?
That's
And
exactly.
Jack,
what
isn't that
we're
true?
doing.
But Carl, the question Joe is asking is, who votes? President?
Well, the committee itself, I mean, I think what we did when David was selected is that the board said, give it to the HR committee, and the chairman, who I think under our bylaws is an ex officio member of that committee, at that time said, well, does that mean that I vote or not? And we said, yeah, okay, sure, on this one you vote.
Right, so the people who get to participate that are not on the committee, not beat this to death, be present at the table, get their comments and questions answered, and probably this is gonna be a consensus decision anyway.
Absolutely.
But for voting purposes, technically speaking, it would be the board member, the HR committee members and the chairman who would have that voting right. It's gonna be a recommendation to the full board anyway, which the full board may, can accept or reject or do whatever they want.
Right.
That's the way I would envision it. And so instead of just seeking the motion, I'll go ahead and make you the motion, that we do it that way, the way I described it. Does somebody want to second that?
I'll second it. I also have a copy, Mark, if you would like, that Jerry gave me of the motion that was made to accomplish this when we hired David, if you'd like me to read that.
Would you read that for us?
Sure. I move the board authorize the Human Resource Committee to conduct a candidate search to fill the executive director position. The Human Resource Committee is recommending the executive director hiring committee consist of the Human Resource Committee and the board chair.
So the point we haven't discussed there is that by implication excludes any headhunter type organization. So let's talk about that right now, other than voting on that language, which I think is the fact that we weren't going to do that is incorporated in that motion because it appoints them as the hiring committee. Carl, is that correct, or did the HR committee make that determination on its own?
Well, I think the board made that determination, if I remember right.
Yeah.
I mean, I think the committee always has the authority to say, guess what, we can't do this. So we're coming back to the board and saying, we need to hire someone to do this. But I think your point is well taken, and I think this position is one that's, where I think this position is one where we are looking for a variety of skills, including, of course, the legislative and inter-Montana governmental skills. I think we're going to get a lot of interest in this position at this time from in-state for sure. I don't see any reason to spend the money and the political capital that always seems to be involved with hiring of a headhunter.
I did just...
I would agree with that.
Yeah, and I would too.
Go ahead.
This is John. The last time around, I remember I was in favor of getting a headhunter. Given the responses that we got the last time and the quality of the responses, I'm glad we didn't do it. Just a bit of information, I did a little research on I checked with what we're paying in California now. A headhunter in California gets about 20%, in the construction industry, gets about 20% of the salary that the person goes to work for, and you get roughly a 90-day guarantee. So if the person doesn't last 90 days, then you typically get a credit match so you can start over again.
Is that the annual salary, right, Don?
Yeah. Oh, now Terry is telling me she's looking at 30%.
And I was gonna say, we did,
Sure.
our last search with the committee, which I'm not in favor of using a headhunter, was 30%.
Why is it higher?
And what was that for?
It was for the chancellor at Tech the last 2 times.
And
Right.
what kind of salary range was that?
Well, the first one was probably 150,000, the second one was 200,
Okay, so
225 or something.
the 20% in the Bay Area is based on 200 to 250. So similar.
And Maggie, why aren't you in favor of it?
Well, I guess because, how do I say this? I think they do a lot of hand-holding and tell these people what to do, how to dress, what to say. And I know this is for a fact because the current chancellor at Tech actually told me all the foolishness that went on with this headhunter. And I just think we want to get people, this is what they want to do. They either have the skill set or they don't. They're either going to impress us or they're not going to with their knowledge. And I think we'll get good candidates. Internally on the state and probably externally, hopefully.
You know, the last time we did this, John's point that there were a couple of things that scared me away from him, including we were right on the heels of the Board of Regents paying big money to have a headhunter say that Cal Christian is right here under your nose is the right person. And some political backlash because of that. But the other thing, but the one point that John made is that the one thing that headhunters do is that they do maybe go to some people who aren't necessarily looking because they're happy where they are and wouldn't necessarily apply, but you know, they generate the interest. And I think that's really fascinating to me. But I think at this time, at this place, we may generate more than enough interest. We're going to generate more than enough interest.
Carl, I think you hit it right on the head, just so you know. I think I would feel differently if we proceeded with the search without a headhunter and we only got, 3 applicants. I think I would feel differently, but I think you're going to get more than that.
Well, and I think that decision could be made at that time if necessary. In other words, I think that's the way our recollection is, that's the decision we made as a CIO is not to do a headhunter unless we thought we needed one. And we never decided that we needed one. And so I would change my motion to incorporate the language of the motion that John read from the last time.
Right, and that's clear that the committee is bringing a recommendation to the board.
Right.
Whatever that recommendation might be.
And I would like to make sure that non-HR committee board members can participate. And I'm not sure why we couldn't vote, but I mean, I'm going to get to vote at some point anyhow, and I'm going to obviously provide you my opinion because that's my nature. But, Carl, it'd be nice.
Fair enough. Fair enough. Did I have a second? John, read the second.
I'll second it.
All right. So do we have any more discussion on that motion, or do we need it right again?
Well, no, I just want to make one more point, if I could. I want to make one more point, because Maggie, I just hope you understand that not only are you able to participate, but man, I mean, we're begging you to come. The more people are there, the more heads that they're there, the better it is.
Maybe I would also.
And so if you're interested in doing it, that's great, and, you know, but if, for example, Jeff, who's not on the committee, is not interested, or doesn't want to make all those trips, or doesn't want to sit that long on a conference call, then he doesn't have to. But, golly, I can't tell you enough how much we want you involved.
I can't remember for sure, Carl, but I think that, maybe it was Terry, but it was something, because Terry was not on the board when I joined the board, and so she didn't vote for David. And so my recollection is that she was one of the people that was involved in the CIO interview process and attended every meeting, but wasn't on the committee. And I think there was more than one of those people. And it was virtually, you know, there was no difference in participation or the state input, or, I mean, it was, everybody's welcome and sought after, and I'm not so sure we didn't have darn near every board member at every one of those.
Actually, Sheena went to all of those too.
Oh, Sheena did.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right, so anyway, that's clear, Maggie.
Okay. Any other discussion on that motion? I think the only thing we will vote on that in a second, but I think it doesn't include the question on the schedule, which I intended to go back to. So let's have a vote. Well, let's all in favor of that motion that we made concerning the authority of the committee and the chairman and the procedure, say aye.
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 Aye. Oh, anybody opposed? All right, that looks good. Now, can we go to the schedule? And we talked about that a little bit already. Does somebody have anything else to add or a motion on that?
I would.
Well, I'd go ahead and move that we follow we shoot for the longer schedule.
I second that.
Carl? Yeah, okay.
So this is Jack. If we're voting for this schedule, how locked in is it? So if some things change, number of candidates or whatever, how flexible are we on the schedule if we vote for it today?
Well, maybe we make reference to it that this is the target schedule, subject to revision as circumstances require.
Yeah, I like that word.
Well, the question is which sides? And I would suggest that it would be, well, I'm not sure, but I was thinking that it would be Carl bringing it to the board if we needed a board meeting, but if we needed to make adjustments, that the committee could make that decision. The HR committee could make the decision to modify the schedule within limits. What do you think?
I agree with that.
Carl, what do you think?
Well, I think that's fine. I guess I don't know. I don't know, do we, that's fine, I don't care how we do it, but I mean, once you give us a schedule, we'll do our best to meet the schedule, and if there's a problem, we'll let everybody know.
Mr. Chairman, my
I guess my preference is to say, have the board say right now as a consensus matter that, you know, the second schedule is the one you guys are shooting for. If you got a problem, let us know, and not really lock us into a way where we feel like,
Mr. Chairman, this is David. I think that given that the June 19th is actually a full board meeting, I think the status quo is that the chairman of the board is the person that calls board meetings, and he gets to do all the input in the filter and all the considerations, and I think you ought to just leave it that it's the prerogative of the chair under the law, under our governance. He gets to call the meeting. He can say what it is, and I think you ought to just leave it at that. And then we report to Carl and to Mark, and if there's a nuance, we got to go some other day. But Mark, I think you ought to stay you determine. I think the board meetings of these ad hoc type meetings, I think that's really in your purview.
So
I mean, I think we're all in agreement that it's the second schedule, right? Is there anybody that wants to push this?
Yeah, I think that's what everybody's saying. That's
Okay.
the question though.
Yeah, Jerry Burton has corrected me on one thing. The board meeting on the 19th is actually the HR and others on the phone, so it's not a full board. So I stand somewhat corrected, but, so Carl, that really begs, I'm wrong. You know, chairs of committees call meetings of their meetings, so I would really go back to you, Carl.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was gonna say. I didn't see a June 19th meeting there, so I think there's flexibility in the chairman's prerogative. Cover us, Jack. Do you agree or do you have a problem with that?
No, I agree. I just want to make sure that there is a little bit of flexibility if we need it. I don't see why we would. I think that second schedule is great and it's workable, but that was just a question I had.
Okay. I don't even know if we need to vote on that. Let's just-
You know, if the fishing gets good, Jack's gonna want us to, we may have.
You know, that might be a requirement of somebody that's applying.
Or an enticement for someone that we want to lure here.
Yeah.
So I guess we're all in agreement that the second schedule, the longer one, that's the week of June 18th for phone interviews is the one that we're going to adopt as our target schedule. Does anybody have an objection to that? Okay, good. Anything else we need to discuss? David?
Yes. It would be helpful to get your guidance on the following logistics. Do you want to trust staff to get the job description in current form? It's 99% good now, but I think it needs to be spiffed up a little bit. I think staff can ably do that. I think I've briefly read your minimum qualifications of what you're looking for. Your qualifications and skills, I think it's good enough. So the first thing is, are you okay with having staff finalizing that? And if you are, so I'm going to, unless you tell me otherwise, I'm going to assume that you're going to let us figure that out. And then I assume that you're going to empower us to release it at a certain time. And then I think it would be helpful to get direction from you now. I assume that you're going to want us, Dana, I assume is going to set up a special file with Mary's help. We'll set up a executive director search file on the M drive. Now, here comes what we really need for guidance. That material that comes in, do you want us to just get it completely unfiltered to the HR committee, or do you want any staff involvement? And I'm agnostic here. This is really the purview of the board.
Well, I'll make two comments here. One, on the qualifications revision, my suggestion is that the staff do it and then send a copy for listening to at least the HR committee chairman and me. And if the whole board wants to see it, I don't have any problem with that either. And I forgot what your second question was already.
Well, let me, so we're taking this piecemeal. So first thing, so Mark, guidance from the chairman, staff will wax up this, and then I think we're just going to email our final version to all board members. Just leave it at that. How's that sound?
Please, I think
That sounds good.
that's the way I want you to do it.
Okay, that's
With
what
the
we're doing.
responses due by Friday the 13th, is the way I look at this.
Right.
Does that work for everybody?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay.
April 13th is what we're talking about for this. Okay.
Well, it actually says the 11th.
And then,
Jerry, it says comments.
What's that?
It says comments due to the Board of Investment staff on April 11th, doesn't it?
Yes.
Because they're gonna post it
That's
on,
true.
they're gonna post it on the 13th.
Maggie just took 2 days away from
Well,
us.
that's okay.
I know, we let her in and look what she's doing. She's cracking the whip already, you know?
Well, I'm gonna go back to what David was just asking about giving access to the HR committee. I think if you're gonna have a website, the board should all have access to look at those resumes.
Everyone should have access to that. And I think, and John, help me remember how we did this before. It seems to me that, I mean, the CIO search was a little different because we really needed the very technical help of certain staff people in terms of filtering through applications, which was different than the help we felt we needed when we had the executive director search. Jack?
Yeah, I think that's correct. You know, at one time, on that CIO search, didn't we have like 100 applicants or something like that?
So, Mr. Chair, this is Jerry. Could I think I know what happened before, how it worked. May I, Mr. Chair?
Go ahead, Jerry.
Yes, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Okay, so what we can do, first of all, we will set up a secure network drive that the application resumes will go into. And what we did and what we can do for you is on a weekly basis, we can PDF all of those documents and provide them to the board members, rather than waiting until the deadline and when it closes and then submitting them all. So that way you can peruse them at your leisure.
And that's what we did last time.
Yeah.
Yeah, we did that last
I
time.
remember that.
Yeah.
And Jerry, did you and Carol at the time, did you guys go through them and give us a little note about doesn't meet minimum qualifications or anything like that, or did we just figure that out on our own?
I don't think I think that it was left up to the board members, the HR committee. There was no
Right.
filtering.
So that's my next question, is do we use any kind of screening matrix? You know, this was my job for 20-some years, a part of my job, and we always had screening matrices, and they really do help. You've got all your requirements, your mins, your maxes, you know, those kind of things.
Basically, when we did the CIO, we went like A, B, C, and D or something to that effect, and that doesn't meet qualifications. You recall that, Carl? And,
Yeah, but again, that was really,
Further in the process.
yeah, we were looking at some pretty technical stuff there.
But something like that we could consider for the executive director position, so that we didn't have, if we have 100.
Maggie, what are your thoughts? I mean, what would be those screening things?
So we used to have we'd have a spreadsheet, and on the spreadsheet you'd have columns, of course, you'd have all of your requireds, so you want to make sure they meet your minimums. If they don't, you don't go any further. If they meet your minimums, then you have a list of preferreds, and it appears we have certain skill sets that we're looking for, and then you have a section on there that you can provide comments for each candidate. And it helps you be more prepared for some of these meetings when you come to them, to have already done some of this stuff up front.
Okay, well, I mean, Jerry, you can help us develop, or someone can help us develop that as we prepare for the cut from the number we get down to the number we're going to talk to on the phone, right?
You know, the problem, Maggie, with what you're suggesting, and
We don't really have.
we don't have any
minimums.
real minimums.
I see that. So you wouldn't have minimums, you'd have your skill sets you're looking for.
Yeah, and
Your
probably
candidates.
everyone will be,
Right, and I think from that thing, we can pull that out. I think Jerry and I can probably work on that and pull out that stuff so that we can help people prepare a kind of their own cheat sheet for when we sit down and go through these things and decide who we're going to talk to.
so I'm remembering we had something similar to this when we did this. Is that right? Because I can remember a cover sheet.
You
that
know, I
had.
think we may have, we had something,
Yeah,
but it was not minimums. It was a cheat
Because
sheet
you don't
that
really-
kind of helped us, okay, what's the experience? How many years in this?
right.
What's the degree? You know, what type of certifications? I mean, something like that, but it wasn't a minimum where if you didn't meet those minimums, you were out.
Right.
It was more, you looked at it as a whole.
I remember the list of names down the left and then these columns
Right.
going off to the
But we
left.
do have some things on this old thing, this one that Jerry gave us. It says 4-year degree plus 6 years experience in job-related field. I mean, so those are there are some hard items in there that we could, I mean,
Which you could-
and as a committee, I mean, you guys should decide, these are the things that we're going to require them to have. These are the things that we want. You've got a wish list and you've got a mandatory type thing.
Well, I think we did something like that before, and I think we can do it again.
I'm happy to help you, Carl.
Right, and I think we developed that in the 30 days that we developed that from the final job description and announcements, right,
Right.
Maggie?
Yes, you would. Exactly.
And then we start using that, each person uses that in whatever way they want to in preparation for the meeting on June 7th to determine phone interviewees.
Right.
And I think all of us who have participated in any one of these know that that's a long meeting.
So I think we're reaching a consensus. Seems like. David, do you think we have guidance?
I do. Jerry, do we have a date in mind so that the HR effort will consensus and figure out who they want to speak to? That's not the 19th. It's the 19th of the
June 7th, where they determine the phone interviews.
So June 7th, so folks,
Thursday,
June
June
7th is what we're looking at for you all to come together in whatever process. You know, who's in the do not call, here's the maybe call, and who's left as far as who are people you'd really like to talk to. And
Right, and that's movable.
And my sense on that is that every person brings a different mindset of that. When we did the CIO, senior management got together, we had 100 of these, we all brought a different frame of reference, but we all decided, you know, is this a category we want to put into the bucket for your consideration or not? You know, my guess is you're going to do a couple of iterations. You know, in the morning you'll probably get it down to X number, and you say, well, that's maybe too many, and then the next round, and so the power of teamwork is very strong here. So,
Right, and that's, if I remember right, that's exactly what we did. And the difference between this and the CIO process is that we really needed the expert help of you and Cliff to when someone said that they, you know, done X and so in investments, to tell us if that was, you know, related to what we do, relatable to what we do, what that meant, you know. Whereas I think with this, when we're looking at a management person, we've got a lot of that expertise on our own.
right, I agree with that. I don't have any say, and I'm agnostic, and I think it's perfectly fine that you, as the legal body, you know, take the whole corpus and screen it from that.
The one thing we haven't discussed, and I'm just taking it as a given, and I might quit if you say no, is that we've got Jerry intimately involved in this whole process with us, right?
I think the right answer is yes.
Yes.
That was nicely.
But I'd just like to say that, you know, in the past, she has been super helpful.
Oh,
We're lucky that we get
couldn't have
together.
done it without her. Yeah, we couldn't have done it without her. And
Well, I guess Right.
So,
Thank you. I'm happy to help
Well,
in
you're,
any way.
unless you, Jerry, unless you're refused, you're appointed.
Thank you. I'm not refusing.
No, okay, good. Anything else we need to cover, Carl, or David, or Jerry?
I guess, let me just look here. So you're gonna send out, let's make sure we're clear here, you're gonna send out, whatever revisions that you're gonna make to the job description
Yes. And the qualifications.
and announcements? So in time for us to get back our comments to you by April 11th, is that right?
It's probably gonna go out tomorrow. I mean, I don't think it's much of a lift. I think we're gonna, well, Jerry's, you're not here. It might have to be Monday. Do we have the same job announcement? You think we can probably draft off most of it?
I've got 'em. Yes, I've got drafts of those. So I've got one for in-state and one for out-of-state.
What is Monday? What is that
Yeah,
day?
we've got those in our packet.
Monday is April 9th.
My anniversary.
You know, my guess is, we may not get it done by tomorrow because Jerry's not in tomorrow, but my guess is by Monday afternoon, we're gonna be able to get this as staff to go to board, Carl.
That should work, right, Carl?
Right, right. And then the other thing is that, consistent with the past, I think we're relying on you 100% to figure out where these get advertised out of state.
And I've got, I've got what we did last time.
Okay.
And so I
And
think,
is there somebody there that you can run that by to see if there's any reason to update that, or would RVK have?
yep,
Yeah, I think that the external part is the easier component. I don't know if Jerry has an opinion. You spent $20-something thousand on newspapers in Montana. And I don't have a good sense of that, if that's an efficient use of money or not, or maybe we just throw $20,000. Certainly they need the money, but I don't have a strong opinion about it. Jerry, am I wrong?
we actually spent between in-state and out-of-state last time $22,000, but the majority of that was the in-state newspapers. So actually Dana and I earlier this week visited, and she's actually looking into costs for in-state,
I
like
talked to the gal
online.
for lead newspapers, she said rates are the same, that's what she told me today. So not cheaper, but not anymore.
So,
And
yeah.
you don't have to cross that bridge today, but we probably should cross it, well, maybe we do cross it today. We probably ought to know.
So you just doing the major newspapers in the state of Montana?
Last time we did it in Lee newspapers, which was Billings, Butte, Hamilton, Helena, Kalispell, Missoula. We also did the Great Falls Tribune. We did the Bozeman Daily Chronicle. That was about $17,000. And that was for, one of them 3 times, and they do online. But what Dana was looking at is, can we just post online? But it sounds like it's not going to make a difference. Online, it's going to hit the newspapers and the cost is going to be the same.
The standard's like the 3 weeks, Wednesday, which is the big paper, and Sunday. So for 3 weeks, twice a week at the big editions, the prices would be
So,
similar.
we'll get this out on the state website. We'll get it out on our website. And then, and I think that with Carl, we can have some communication as far as ideas of where we would advertise along with costs and get that out to the committee and the committee can make a decision.
Yeah, I just don't know anymore these days. I mean, I just,
Aren't they, didn't we do something with like the secret CFA society or
So
something?
out of state, we did the CFA site, the National CFA site. We did pensions and investments. Now the Fun Fire, they can do a job blast. So, I mean, we can get that information and provide it to you at the beginning of next week as well.
Maggie, does it make sense to advertise in every daily in the state?
Well, yes and no. I think for this type of position, I'm gonna say yes.
Okay, all right.
When we made decisions, we always selected one big, like, we always use highered.com for all of our administrative positions and faculty positions, but, the newspapers, we always said major cities. I don't know that we would have counted Hamilton, but, it is a growing area. We did Great Falls, Billings, Helena, Butte.
Okay.
And I think when you put it in the lead newspapers,
Just go to
it hits
share.
all of those.
I do think we should find as many sites as we can that are electronic.
Yeah, it seems to me that
That's the way of the future, and
Yeah.
that's really where
people
most people are looking. Mhm. Like all of these entities that you talked about, Jerry, the pension, whatever, it's not even Funfire, they're gonna have blasts, they're gonna have sites that people access, so.
And I don't know, I mean, like LinkedIn, I don't know if you can do a job blast through that,
Yeah, I don't know.
but we
That's a
can
good
look
thought.
into it.
You know, the other thing we did, we did, I think a little bit of it, is, to check with DOA on that. In terms of where they were doing stuff.
Some years ago, it was like, what, monster.com or?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So-
it's not Monsters
It's-
Newspapers anymore, she said, it's a
Not
different
anymore, yeah.
entity.
Electronically, Indeed is they pick up stuff and they put it on there, but I think you can directly go to Indeed also, Indeed.com. I think that has taken the place of Monster from a decade ago.
Craigslist.
They got rid of Christmas.
MySpace, everybody on MySpace?
Oh, stop.
Cambridge Analytics.
So,
Well, so,
I would recommend that we provide Jerry and the group with, the staff with any ideas that we might have for places we can post it. I mean, right now,
Right, and
it's
my
hard to
point
pull it
is-
off the top of your head, you know, just.
Right, and my point is that I don't know that stuff, so I should really rely on you and then hope that maybe if anybody feels that they do know that stuff better, that they would let Jerry know or drop her an email or
Yeah.
something.
let's just, and Maggie, you can do that, and anybody else who has ideas can just get a hold of Jerry, and, because I don't think the incremental expense for what we're doing is anything to be concerned about, it's just a question to get the best exposure, so. The right of every year, kind of seems to me.
Right, right, and then cover ourselves from the standpoint of making sure we dotted the i's and crossed the t's, so if somebody doesn't hear about it, we aren't in trouble.
Right, fair enough. Okay, anything else? Looks like we're about ready to wrap up. I do have a client at 4 o'clock, so it's gonna be convenient, unless we have something important to do.
Nothing from me, Mr. Chairman. Staff? Jerry?
Nope, I'm good.
Janet, anybody, you good? Nothing from the staff?
Are we good?
I think so.
Okay, any other questions?
I'm wondering if Jack's feeling better.
I am feeling better, thank you, John.
Very good.
Good to hear.
I am not feeling that, I wasn't there, I don't know what you guys did at the meeting, I'm a little worried about that. but-
You'll see in the meeting minutes, there's a lot of Jack action items.
Should have read those minutes. Yeah.
All right.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Jerry, do you guys follow the staff?